Let's dive right into this explainer and unpack exactly how alcoholic beverage companies prove they're actually using renewable energy. When you pick up a bottle of your favorite beer or spirit, you might spot a label proudly claiming it was made with 100% renewable electricity. Sounds fantastic, right? But is it actually true? Today we're decoding the rigorous behind-the-scenes accounting that keeps those green claims totally honest.
So how does a brewery or distillery actually prove its energy is green? You might assume that just buying power in a really sunny or windy city makes a company green automatically. Or maybe you think throwing a few solar panels on the roof of a bottling plant simply does the trick. Well, the reality is far more complex and honestly heavily regulated. It involves this fascinating, practically airtight web of accounting designed specifically to prevent companies from making empty promises.
What's really fascinating here is the rulebook itself, the SASB standards, which are now part of the IFRS Foundation and the International Sustainability Standards Board, provide an exact, non-negotiable framework for how the food and beverage sector must calculate their energy metrics. We are not talking about voluntary guesswork here. This is a strict, standardized framework dictating precisely what a company can and cannot claim to its investors when it comes to energy management.
To peel back the layers of this technical accounting standard, we'll follow a megawatt of energy through 5 specific steps: beverage industry energy realities, defining true renewable energy, decoding power purchase agreements, the golden rule of RECs, and sourcing certified biomass materials.
Let's jump into Section 1, Beverage Industry Energy Realities. Because brewing and distilling require massive amounts of energy for things like heating, cooling, and steam, the alcoholic beverage industry relies heavily on both fossil fuels and purchased electricity. And this heavy consumption obviously contributes to negative environmental impacts, which means these companies face huge exposure to climate regulations and wild price swings in the energy market. So transitioning to alternative energy sources isn't just about saving the planet. It is absolutely crucial for protecting the bottom line, reducing long-term expenses, and mitigating some serious regulatory risks.
Moving right along to Section 2, Defining True Renewable Energy.
This brings us to the crucial question of what actually counts under the standard. To ensure companies aren't just making vague environmental claims, the definition is incredibly strict. Renewable energy must come from sources that are replenished at a rate greater than or equal to their rate of depletion. It isn't just a vibe, right? It's literally math. This creates a firm scientific baseline for exactly what enters the books as green.
So, the crucial point is that a beverage company must source from these very specific categories to claim their energy consumption is truly renewable. We're talking geothermal, wind, solar, hydro, and biomass. When a company calculates its total energy consumed, usually in gigajoules, they have to divide their renewable energy consumption by that total to get their percentage renewable metric. And when calculating that score, only these specific heavy hitters actually make the cut.
And this brilliantly illustrates a really stark contrast in the rulebook. You can claim energy you generate yourself or directly purchase, but you absolutely cannot claim the green electricity that just happens to be in your local grid's mix if it's outside your control. Think about it. If a distillery operates in an area where the local utility just happens to use a lot of hydropower, but the distillery didn't explicitly purchase the rights to that renewable energy, well, they are expressly forbidden by the SASB standards from counting that grid mix as their own renewable energy. No free rides.
Okay, let's head into Section 3, Decoding Power Purchase Agreements. Now that we know what counts, let's explore how companies actually buy it. When a beverage company buys power from, say, a wind farm, they use a Renewable Power Purchase Agreement, or PPA. But here's the kicker. For that energy to count as renewable under SASB, this agreement must explicitly include the transfer of specific green certificates. Purchasing the physical electricity just isn't enough. To claim the environmental benefits, the contract has to legally convey the actual greenness of the power to the company.
Which perfectly transitions us into Section 4, the golden rule of RECs.
Get ready for an alphabet soup of green certificates. Think of a REC, a Renewable Energy Certificate, or a GO, a Guarantee of Origin, as a unique receipt proving ownership of 1 megawatt-hour of green energy. RECs are mostly used in North America, while GOs are the standard in Europe. Without holding these specific certificates in hand, a company has absolutely zero basis to report renewable energy usage to its investors under these guidelines, period. To legally claim that green energy, a company has to follow these exact steps. First, the clean energy is generated. Second, the REC is issued and transferred to the company, usually through that PPA we just talked about. Finally, and this is the absolute most vital part, the company must retain and retire the REC. Once it's retired, it's canceled on the company's behalf and can never be sold or used again. It's the ultimate protection against double counting in the market.
This strict SASB rule is a real game changer. It means that if a brewery installs solar panels on its own facility, but then decides to sell the resulting RECs to someone else to make a quick profit, well, they are absolutely forbidden from claiming that solar power on their own sustainability report, even if those panels are literally on their own roof, physically powering their own brewing vats. If they sell the RECs, they've sold the bragging rights. The rule is ironclad. Retain and retire the certificates, or you can't make the claim.
Finally, let's move to Section 5, sourcing certified biomass materials.
Because biomass energy involves burning organic material, SASB requires companies to go the extra mile to prove that material is sustainably sourced. You can't just toss any random agricultural waste into a furnace and claim a green energy win. It has to pass the rigorous standards of specific third-party organizations like the Forest Stewardship Council or the Greenie Framework or other applicable jurisdictional standards. This ensures that companies aren't accidentally contributing to deforestation while trying to hit their renewable energy targets.
So next time you see a 100% renewable claim on a bottle, you now know the rigorous paper trail of PPAs and retired RECs required to make that statement an actual reality. It's not just marketing fluff. Under the SASB standard, it requires meticulous accounting, retained certificates, and incredibly strict definitions. What you should absolutely take away from this explainer is that true sustainability reporting is as exact, unforgiving, and regulated as traditional financial accounting. So the next time you crack open a sustainably brewed beer, ask yourself, are you tasting the power of the sun, or just the power of an airtight accounting audit?